Hey everybody, this is Rob Dukes. This is the Put Up Your Dukes podcast, episode number 5. I've done 5 now. I've actually done 7, but the other 2 are still like in the works. So I got to do like other stuff for them. Anyway, you're really gonna love this one. Oh, it's so fucking good. Oh, I cried in it, like a little bit, not like I did, but I got a little choked up. It was a really good one. My guest today is Mr. Tom fucking Hunting. He is, was my drummer for, close to 10 years and one of my closest friends in the world, and a beautiful human being. And I had an awesome conversation. We had a really good time. And anyway, I hope everyone had a good holiday. If you're a Jew, I hope you had a good Hanukkah. If you're a Kwanzaa, I don't think I've ever met any Kwanzaa. My black friends are not. No, they just do regular old Christmas. So, and Merry Christmas to everyone else. I don't want to leave anyone out. Be shitty if I did. What do Indians do? Do Indians actually do they do Christmas, Santa Claus? I wonder. I don't know. I actually don't know. I've never asked myself that question. I know that when South Park went to Afghanistan, they dropped Christmas lights and everything on there. So maybe they're doing that now. Ever since that South Park episode, I don't know. I don't know what they do there. I got COVID. I don't know how. I did go to New York and played a show with Generation Kill, which was a lot of fun. My friend Colin Gleason passed away a few months ago, and not from COVID. He actually had a heart attack, so Generation Kill and Murder League All Stars and a bunch of bands got together and played like a little benefit show to raise some money for his wife and help with the medical bills, which was a nice thing, It was nice to go back to New York and see a lot of my old friends, people from high school. Sorry about that. I apologize. So it was very sad, but it was also very like, of course I, told a couple stories in between songs of me and Colin, smoking weed and drinking beers. And his mom was like, oh, I'd rather you guys be in the basement smoking and drinking than driving around. So that's what we did. We didn't go to bars, man. We hung out at his basement and smoked weed for like a year during college. And then I get home, and then I was fine for the whole week. I went back to work for, and then the day after Christmas, Sunday morning, I woke up and I'm like, man, I don't fucking feel good. And then it just progressively got worse. I went and I got a test, and I'm positive, so I'm quarantined in my fucking house. I'm trying not to say she's rolling her eyes every time I say it. I know. I have this huge pimple on my eye. It is the weirdest. Look at that. Is that the weirdest fucking thing? It's like right here. I feel like that dude from Something About Mary. Have you ever had a pimple on your eyeball? Yeah. Chris fucking Elliott. Oh, he's fucking brilliant. Anyway, I mean, I'm just sick, and there's not a lot going on. I hope everyone stays home on New Year's and gets drunk at home. Don't go out. It's fucking, there's nothing good out there. Anyway, be safe, be well, and I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy my interview with Tom Hunting. He's awesome. Peace.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, just chilling. Have some coffee with my brand new drum set coffee cup.
I'm having my Sunday Papers podcast coffee cup.
That's a great song by Elvis Costello. Not Elvis Costello, Joe Jackson.
Oh, Sunday Papers?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, about the stains on the mattress. Do you want to know how to drive your car?
You actually used that lyric? You don't want the stains on the mattress? Wow, that's deep. That's dark.
I know, for late 70s, that's like pretty risque.
What kind of kid were you? Like when you were like 5 and 6, I kind of remember what I was like. And I was just, I was wondering what you were like. Were you very sociable? Did you have a close family, brothers and sisters?
We had a pretty close family, and my mom and dad divorced when I was 3, so like I was pretty much raised mostly by my mom, and she worked a lot, so I was kind of like a latchkey kid.
Yeah,
left to my own devices quite a bit. But the early years, the normal stuff, big wheels, GI Joes, and fucking
yeah,
and music always,
yeah.
I remember like putting on records like when I was like big enough to hold one with 2 hands,
Yeah, I was the same way. That's why we had that in common. So you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, one brother. I have a stepsister, and I had a stepbrother, but he passed when I was 12. He had leukemia.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad remarried, and that's how I became.
Oh, okay. And so your brother's older than you?
He is.
Okay. What's he do? Was he a musician? Was he
well, let's just say him and I are kind of estranged at the moment, but it's okay. I love him. I just don't like him very much right now.
Okay. All right.
But he's right now he's a sous chef up in the mountains at a restaurant up there. Probably the only big restaurant up in near the Lake Almanor area, where we have a house up there and stuff.
Okay. So, yeah. So when did you get your first drum set? Like how old were you? And how were you able to, was your mom cool with you? Like, because they're extremely loud and obnoxious. So how did that work out?
Well, like I said, she worked a lot. So like I had a lot of time on my hands, like in the house. I think I was maybe 12, 13. By that time, I didn't require like adult babysitting or anything like that. So my friend Larry Salucci, who lived down the street, was selling his drum set. It was a 3-piece with an 18-inch kick drum, like a little cocktail kit. And I bought it from him for $15. Had a hi-hat, one tom-tom, a snare, and a kick drum.
Right.
And it was a piece of crap, but it got me started. And I'm sure that it wound up getting destroyed somewhere down the line, or maybe I destroyed it. I don't remember.
Did you set it up lefty right away as naturally, or did you set it up the way he had it righty and then go, no, this isn't working?
Well, I practiced at his house on it when it was his drum set, righty, and then when I got it to my house down the street, I switched it to lefty. And then my band teacher wouldn't let me switch the junior high school band kit to lefty, and I remember that being a battle, Mr. Martin. And he just, he didn't want me to take like 2 minutes to change the fucking thing around. And I sucked. Like I tried playing righty. I even tried open hand, but my main kick foot is my left foot.
All right.
Like there's some goofy footed left-handed drummers out there. Like Will Carroll's one of those, like where he plays open handed, like I would, but his main kick drum foot is his right foot. So it was mainly the foot that I couldn't get to. The right foot that I couldn't get to do anything, rhythmically correct. So
how much work did it take to actually, when you incorporated double bass, to bring that into your playing? Was it always a problem, or did you learn how to correct it through lessons or on your own? Or
double bass?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I remember about double bass is hooking up another kick drum and like going for these beats. Like I think that was one of the first ones I learned. And
Right.
Exodus even wrote an early song called "The Pillager," and that one had double bass almost all the way through it, because I was like, I just figured out how to play double bass. I'm gonna do it all the way through the song. So,
that's awesome.
But the other stuff, like the faster stuff, didn't come till later, till I was exposed to like Motorhead and like Fast as a Shark, and even early Sabbath like had some double bass in it. You can't really hear it because they didn't mic the stuff very good back then.
Yeah.
But Bill Ward did some double bass in more than just one song. Like it was multiple songs. Even Keith Moon had played double bass here and there on like the ending of some songs. But yeah. So yeah, my main introduction to double bass was Fast as a Shark though, and I mean Motorhead, Filthy was doing it, and Lars would tell you like that was his first exposure to it. And I guess both of ours too, but his was like really sloppy, but it fit with Motorhead,
Yeah.
But Stephen Kaufman like tore the roof off of it for me with Fast as a Shark.
As soon as that,
you
hear it, like, what the fuck is this? I remember hearing that song for the first time, going, what is this?
It was Machine Gun, like very very influential.
Yeah. So was your mom like was she a proponent of being helpful to you in this, or does she look at it as something that was a
hobby?
Yeah, well, I mean, what were her aspirations for you? Did she have any, or did she ever express them, or was it just?
She just kind of, like I said, she left me to my own devices to like figure stuff out. Like she bought me a set of hi-hats when I was 16, because I played guitar before that. Like when I was from 12 to like 14, I played guitar.
Right.
And then I bought that drum set from my friend Larry down the road, and then and then I bought another drum set. I got totally burned by a friend of mine, Eddie Clare. I paid $200 for another cocktail kit, but it was a vintage Ludwig, but I put the two kits together, and then I had double bass.
Oh, okay.
I had a 20 and an 18, two 12s, a 14-inch floor tom. It was just a piece of shit drum set. But anyways, she bought me a set of hi-hats when I was 16, and I still have that set of cymbals. They're kind of cracked, but I still have them. They were Zildjian rock hi-hats, and I used them because Phil Rudd used them. And when I went to see the Back in Black concert in 1980, I looked at the tour program, and I think it said something about Zildjian cymbals. Phil Rudd uses rock hi-hats. I'm like, well, shit. If he uses them, they must be strong, So Mom, all I want for Christmas is a set of hi-hats. But she didn't push me to do it. She didn't push me to take any lessons. She just kind of like, hey, my kid's into music, so
that's good.
I don't think she looked at it as a career. I mean, I could have chose a bunch of different paths. Like her best friend, who was like my second mom, lived in Alaska and traveled to Saudi Arabia, and like they had designs on me possibly going there and working in the oil business.
Ooh.
Like on the Alaskan pipeline and shit when I was a teenager. And who knows, if I took that path, I might be a CEO at Chevron or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, but then we'd all hate you, man. We all love you now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'd probably hate myself too.
What's the hardest part that you play in any of the albums you've done with Exodus? What's the one that really challenges you the most? The one part.
I'd say the drum roll right before the last verse of Beyond the Pale. Because it's fast, and I just come out of like this blazing speed of a song that's just pure brutality, like all the way through. like the other songs, like The Sun Is My Destroyer is like very complex, and that's my favorite vocal by you, by the way. But it also, like, it's a journey, and there's breaks in it and stuff like that. Like Beyond the Pale is just like fuck all the way through. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't stop. And I remember I always remember the last drum roll. I would have to like, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes.
Right.
You know, and then it's like
Yeah.
it goes all the way around the kit. Like, I mean, there's other stuff that I did that was like difficult that you know, kind of hard to pull off live, but you know, that I always remember being a constant. And you know, as a drummer or any kind of like musician performer, you get things stuck in your head. Like if you fuck it up like one or two nights, then it becomes like this pattern of like, here it comes.
Yeah.
Hope I don't fuck it up, and then you do.
Death amphetamine.
Death amphetamine for you, yeah.
Yeah. Just
you gotta wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
that's always interesting to me. Because I remember when we were together for 10 years, and there were times when you would. I don't know if you remember this, but we played in Hollywood, and Gene Hogan was in the crowd. And for some reason, before we played, you told me, you said, dude, I'm really nervous because Gene's watching me, and I'm not playing up to my own capabilities. And I know that you were stressing at that. Anxiety was playing a part in your life at that time. And
I just rejoined the band, and
yeah.
I wasn't. I thought I was still going through something, and I was like anxiety ridden.
Yeah. So, but did that play a part in like even like the songs like in Strike of the Beast? If there was a part coming that we always said Tom was throwing a couple bricks out there, that's what Gary always called it, when we would just kind of trip a little bit and
yeah.
But I remember you were struggling with that. And how did you work through that eventually? And do you remember the worst time it was happening?
I think to work through it, you just got to breathe and like relax and, realize that, hey man, you've been playing this shit since you were barely an adult or even a teenager. And you just got to like, and I've talked to other drummers, that had these problems too. Like, me and Charlie Benante had a long conversation about double bass and like how you don't really forget parts, but you fuck up a part and then it becomes perpetual and you just keep fucking it up for a while.
Yeah.
And for him, that's even harder because like half of Anthrax's songs all have double bass in them, and it's really fast and furious. And like, he's like, I don't know, man. Totally forgot how to fucking play double bass. I'm like, I got you, bro.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Peter Taggart about forgetting lyrics and just missing a cue or missing where it was coming. So I had the same conversation with Peter. But I remember you were really struggling, and we were in Anaheim, I think. And I remember saying to myself, I'm just gonna keep smiling at him and laughing and trying to make him feel that it doesn't matter, because it never bothered me when people made mistakes, because it was always kind of funny that, oh, here we are doing this. And some nights we were perfect and then some nights we were off. But it made other people in the band angry when we would fuck up. But I wasn't one of them. And I remember I was really happy you were back in the band, and I remember trying to make you feel comfortable. And I would always jump on the riser and scream at you and laugh.
Yeah. And, I love that, and those little things fucking help big time. I had just rejoined the band, and I was feeling anxiety, and I felt like, to the point where if you have anxiety, you're not sleeping, and if you're not sleeping, you feel like physically sick, and and I remember having like a major back. My back was kind of thrown out at that time. I don't know what I did, something lifting gear or some shit, but and all those things compiled, and I just wasn't on my game. But by the time we got home from that trip, I remember I'm like, I'm not gonna leave the band. I'm just gonna, work through this problem. And sometimes you just gotta get out of your own head and go in a woodshed and just play.
Right. Yeah.
Play to the best of your ability. And it's like, if you fuck it up, try again the next day, and work on your parts, and just yeah.
But I remember, so from where I was sitting, right, I knew you were struggling with certain things, and for me it wasn't I knew that I would just wish that you just could have just been okay with it and just let's move on. But I know that like I remember hearing Neil Peart say that the way he retired, because he knew he was sick, but he didn't want to play anymore if he couldn't play it the way he wanted to. Like if he was losing his abilities, he was like, I want to just go out when I don't want to go through that. And I know that everybody struggles through shit at times. Like even guitar players they just go through whatever they're going through. It's just either memory lapse or just, it's not that you don't care. It's just that it's a challenge. And one of those, I remember talking to you about, the challenges sometimes of where we would start a tour, and by the end of the tour we were twice as fast as we were when we started, but we were also better. We were also like, it just became a groove, and it became and we had those moments that were really awesome.
It always took like 3 shows. It still does, like take 3 or 4 shows before you're like in the zone of where you're on tour, where you're not even thinking about, like, the first couple gigs. For me anyway, I'm always like not breathing right, and when I feel unrehearsed, everything is way too fast. And I'm hitting way too hard, and I'm like blowing it out like first couple songs until you figure out how to like rein it in and breathe again, and find your zone.
Also, you're not in the moment you're in, because you're worried about something that's coming up that you're not rehearsed about. So like you're thinking about the song 2 songs ahead, and then you're not really in the moment of the song you're in, because you're thinking about something that's going to trip you up, 10 minutes from now, and all that. And then eventually it comes into this smooth thing where it's just a machine, and you're all just firing on all cylinders, and you're just in the moment. And
totally. And then when you go on stage already feeling like, I'm gonna get this thing's ass tonight.
What's the hard? Have you ever busted your lip open when hitting yourself in the face with a stick? You ever hit real bad?
I've hit myself in the temple. I've hit myself like in the nose. I've had the back of the stick like hit me in the balls. I'm not a very accurate hitter anyway. I've done this one on the snare rim, like, and then it breaks open, it bleeds all over the snare. That one hurts. The first hit hurts, but if you do it again the second time, dude, and you're already wounded, it's doubly brutal.
I remember.
But you can't stop. You can't stop and like cry about it.
But I also remember when like if like, so you get so used to like what's going on behind you, because I'm usually going off the snare and the bass drum for the vocal, right? And when it all of a sudden it would be off, and I'd look back, and it's because you would drop your drumstick, but instead of just reaching for another one, you were actually trying to catch it and chase it across your kit.
Dude, there's I call it chasing floaters, because if it hasn't hit the ground yet, it's still like floating on the kit. So you're like, instinctively you go, I can get that. Kind of like, a wide receiver like juggling a pass, and he's like, oh my God, I think I got it. Then it gets intercepted or some shit. I mean, the smart thing to do would just be, all right, the stick's gone, let it go, let it hit the floor. Right. But you want to grab it and recover as fast as possible. Yeah. Because then you got to think, especially for me, because like my stick bag's over here. If it comes out of my right hand, the snare hand, you're not going to hear snare, and like that's going to throw everybody off. That's when you like so this. I'm like, fuck, I got to hit the snare with this hand and grab a stick, and like, it's chasing floaters, and nobody should ever chase a floater.
Yeah. So, have you ever had like, you ever been like sick and had to play and either had bathroom like diarrhea or like have to take a piss, or anything situation ever happened like that?
I've never shit myself on stage, if that's what you mean, but I know somebody that has. Yeah. No, I mean, no, I think I've like thrown up a little bit. Like, remember the Underworld? Yeah. Like how hot it would get in there. Like I was on the edge of consciousness a couple times drumming in there, just like kind of like that room's lacking oxygen and it smelled like raw sewage when it got filled up with people and
windows.
No fucking windows, no oxygen, and you're trying to go in there and do this crazy physical job. It's like the crowd's into it, and like all they got to do is stand there and headbang, but I got to like headbang and provide this athletic workout in an environment that has no fucking air.
Yeah, I got to run around and scream at the top of my lungs. Yeah, man, I know.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think I threw up a little bit there, and I actually stopped. I remember I stopped drumming, and it might have been in Beyond the Pale. Because I was just like, or no, it was Piranha, where I was like, and I just stopped because like I started to feel all tingly, like I was checking out. That was the closest I ever came to like passing out, like behind the kit. And I think it happened a couple times that night. And it might have happened next time we played there too. So
I remember that gig in like it was like Romania in that room. We were in the hallway and it was like 150 degrees, man, and we were
but and shows like that, like over the years, I've become aware of like humidity and then the surroundings and like what that night was going to feel like inside a club. So like that night you're speaking of, and in the underworld, a lot of times after the one time I almost passed out there, I go inside the room. Like if you go from like an air-conditioned bus or an air-conditioned backstage to that environment and then try to do what you do, you're not climatized to, you're not ready for that surrounding to go in there and perform. Like, so I go in there and I just sit there on the riser, on the back of the riser, and just like,
acclimate yourself there.
Exactly. I acclimate myself to the room, like the temperatures, and like, try to do a few push-ups and just get ready for,
I remember you saying that. I remember us doing that. I remember following you. I go, that's a good idea. And going there and doing push-ups right before we go in, or
it helps.
Jacks, or run around and jump up and down in the air and scream a little bit. Yeah. So, what's the worst show you ever played? The worst.
The worst show I ever played. I don't know. I mean, I think I purposely probably blocked those from my mind. I mean, we get to go around and play music, for our life. So like, is there really a bad show?
Yeah, there are bad shows, Tom.
Yeah, I know there's bad shows. I think some of the worst gigs is when, like Lee has a tendency, like if his stuff ain't working right and he don't get out of bed till it's showtime, and like he'll play and like his amp's like crapping out, and the tech's over there, Frenchie Pete's trying to figure out what's going on, and like, to the point where he's like beating on the amp.
Yeah.
I think the worst nights are when I look over and see other people not having a good time. You know what I mean? And like, and after that, after Lee's having those kind of experience, he just kind of mails it in. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Let's cut songs. And I feel like the crowd gets cheated out of a good show, when that happens. Personally, I've probably had millions of bad shows, but I don't remember I don't remember the absolute worst one. I know there was a night at the Ranch Bowl in Omaha where we only drew like 28 people, and it was the late 90s, and Bailoff was, I think he was a little bit sick by then, because he had 3 strokes and he had 2, one little one, one middle one, and then the one that took him out completely. And I think he was struggling at that point, and he was also struggling with addiction, and I think we were all kind of going down that path. I remember a night at the Ranch Bowl that was terrible. It was 28 paid, and it was the late 90s and nobody cared about metal really.
No, yeah. What was your best show, and the best show that you remember that, because I have a bunch of them, you know what I mean? Yeah. But there's a couple that stand out. So do you have any that like just stand out?
I really loved anytime we play Chile is amazing. Like Chile is just off the hook. That's why bands like love doing live records there.
Yeah.
The first time we played Dynamo Festival, the big festival, it was I think it was like 28,000 people, and that was the first time I played for a crowd that big.
Yeah.
So it was that was a pretty good moment. And Vakken was amazing with you. in 09. Was it 09? Yeah.
08.
08.
Yeah. And Iron Maiden in Chile.
That was, oh shit, yeah. Iron Maiden in Chile on my birthday in 2011. Yeah. That was, yeah.
That whole week.
I mean,
awesome.
the moments, like, there's so many awesome ones. You know, I'm grateful for all of them.
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard to pick an absolute best, but yeah, 65,000 people in Chile singing me "Happy Birthday" didn't suck for sure. That was
fucking awesome.
Like, Mom, look at me.
Yeah, and then they gave us a dressing room, and we had a fucking awesome after show, and just the whole thing.
All I saw was Iron Maiden, the backside of Iron Maiden leaving and getting into a van. I was like, "Hey, can I get?" All right, whatever. And then their crew was amazing to us too. I remember they're like,
"Oh yeah,
you went 3 minutes over, you fucks."
Yeah,
only 3 minutes of it. Every time I seen those guys after that,
yeah,
they remembered Exodus, and they remembered. Yeah, I was 3 fucking minutes, and like, we played San Bernardino with them a while back, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and they were like, it was a disaster show for us because like the house board blew up and we didn't get to use it. The guy doing sound for us had to mix from the side of the stage actually, and I was talking to Maiden's crew. I was like, "So do we get our 3 minutes back?" He's like, "Oh yeah, and then some."
I remember they told you, "Don't be fucking spitting and puking on the fucking stage, or you'll never do this again." And I was like, "Okay." So I spent the whole show like not spitting anywhere, and it's like the worst when you're singing is to not spit, you know. And he doesn't want you to do that. And I'm like, "Oh, all right, I won't." So yeah, but that was an amazing week, an amazing show. What's your most embarrassing moment on stage? Like, was there anything that? Like I've been in a band with another guy who in the middle of the song stopped and because he didn't know where he was, and that never happened with you. That was one of the things, dude. When you were drumming, I never worried about anything because I knew that you were solid as fuck always. You were like rhythm playing, like you guys were like you were solid, and it made it so much easier to sing because I could count on you to be on every fucking night. I mean, but I'm sure that you had moments where you're like, I've never heard you stop in the middle of a song. I mean, that's never happened, but I've seen other people do it, and I'm like, wow, you know. But
embarrassing moment, I think. Thank you for all that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I think some of the most embarrassing moments was like when we were talking earlier about anxiety and like if you're blowing up a part and not playing it right, gets in your head and you keep trying to play through it. But sometimes looking back now, it'd be better to put those songs aside for a minute and work on them privately, not during your live show.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was having trouble. We were playing Seeds of Hay was in the set, and I was having that Benante hunting fucking mental block of double bass. And that song starts with fast double bass, and I'm like on an island by myself.
Yeah.
And we kept trying to put it in the set. And I remember like multiple nights of me just blowing it big time. And finally we were just like, yeah, let's pull that song out of the set. I'm like, yeah, that might be a good idea. You know, because like you're not going to get the part when it's in your head that you can't play the part.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Totally.
You need to go back to the woodshed and fucking start over. And you know, it's not that you can't play the part, you just can't play it at that moment. So you know, because it's in your head, you're all in your head. Your body obviously has the ability to play it. You've been playing it for years.
Yeah.
So like I had some pretty embarrassing moments with that song on stage. I can't remember when. It was probably 1980 something.
When you first left the band the first time, and it was for health reasons and anxiety and stuff like that, did you know, when I spoke with Rick, man, he said a lot of his identity was tied to it, and he woke up for the first time the next day and he realized, I'm not in Exodus anymore.
Yeah, he told me that too. Yeah.
Did you go through that, or was it different for you?
I think it was a relief for me to leave for a while because I was feeling sick. I was feeling ill. And I told you this before, that for me anyway, if you're feeling like that, like a homing device kicked in, and I'm like, I don't want to be out here right now. I want to be home. I want to be with my dog. I want to be with my family, and like, and figure out what's going on with me. So like a lot of your identity is tied up in being in the band. And that up to that point, I had been in the band since I was barely 15 years old when we formed the band. So, but at the end of the day, though, it is something you do, but it doesn't totally define who you are. I think Rick probably had a few regrets on how he left the band. Cause like he just kind of like,
he did,
he didn't really get fired. He just kind of like faded out into this, gangster drug culture that we were all a part of back then. In about I don't know, 04, 05 or whatever. But for me, I didn't have any regrets. And plus I had joined Angel Witch like shortly after that. I think I left the band in 89, and Kevin Hayborn called me up from Angel Witch, which was a legendary band in my past, in my mind, and part of the formative years of me learning how to play drums. I was always jammed to Angel Witch, and so I had other stuff to do and other projects, and I knew a trade, so I was like fixing motorhomes and RVs, and I went to work and just kind of like lived normal life for a while and played music, like not as a touring musician. So it was fine. I was fine with it.
Right. So one other thing so you were also doing speed all this time, right?
Not back then, not in 89. In 89, it was more recreational.
Okay.
Once in a while, we smoked a lot of weed back then. We were basically stoner kids back then, but the meth didn't become a problem until like maybe 98, 99 through, for me, 99 through 02.
Really?
Up to the recording of Tempo with a Damned. Like that was when we recorded Tempo, I was in the middle of the struggle of stopping. Like, I had brought a little bit with me for the sessions, and I did a tiny bit, like half, like I probably recorded 1/3 of that album on speed, and then the rest I was in the middle of a struggle with it, of stopping, because I would stop. Gary had already stopped, and the rest, I mean, he killed Bailoff, and that still wasn't enough to make us all stop.
I get it.
You're in denial, like
absolutely.
Like, that ain't what killed him. This other thing killed him. But at the end of the day, like his fucking lifestyle killed him. Nobody should die at 43 of a massive stroke. Anyways, so so that's when the drugs kind of took over. Gary stopped, and then I followed shortly after that, and then Rick kind of took the journey a little bit farther, and then eventually he was able to stop through court-appointed rehab.
Sometimes that's the way it works. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're fucking just so deep in it, you don't see it. You know what I mean? And your friends, your friends could tell you, and you end up doing horrible things, but it doesn't. It's like the drug is just more powerful. And I spoke with Rick at length about it.
Especially that drug, because like you're, with meth, like your brain's firing so fast, dude, and you're telling so many lies, and like everything is like going so fast, like, and you're making mistakes, and you're fucking people over, and you're stealing shit, and you're lying, cheating, and stealing. But in your brain, the way that drug works, it's already justified, like what you're doing.
Yeah, you rationalize everything that you do so you can get more speed.
Exactly. But
I get
it. My journey was short-lived with it, but I went out there. I didn't go out there as far as some people did, but I'm glad we survived that, and I'm really glad. As deep as Rick was into it, like him coming out of it is statistically an amazing success. Like,
absolutely,
a lot of people don't come back from that, and he came all the way back. He's raising kids, and he's farming, and he's buying pickup trucks, and that wasn't a reality 20 years ago.
The statistic is that the odds are against him. The way he used to. I mean, I mean, I
smoking it. Yeah.
remember the FedExodus shirt was based on the fact that they were having drugs shipped through FedEx to meet them at gigs ahead of the tours and stuff. And
Absolutely.
you
We
know,
were chasing down a shipment of speed that went to like 10 different places before we finally got it, you know.
yeah, and I know that, like, guys like Lemmy had the same deal, and there were other bands that have their own issues, but Rick tried to convince me that speed played a part in how thrash metal evolved because of the speed mixed with the blues and then the metal and early Priest and just learning the earlier stuff and then cranking it up more because he was on speed. And I was like, well, yeah, for some people it wasn't like that for. I mean, were those guys doing it back in the early days during the Bonded and right after that days?
Not really. I mean, we partied back then, but we were mostly just stoner kids at that point. And during Bonded and all that stuff, I don't agree with that. I think that it evolved through the influences, for me anyway. It evolved through the influences of classic rock, early heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal, and then and punk rock.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I was introduced to like Exploited and the Cro-Mags and like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
A Discharge.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I took, the drum beat from Barracuda and sped it up to like Cro-Mag speed. And then it was like, whoa, this is fun.
Yeah.
Drugs had nothing to do with it back then.
All right, so that just was a.
I think a lot of people on the scene were probably using the drugs back then.
Right.
And it probably led to the more fanatical fans becoming more fanatical or whatever. But and maybe that was Rick's journey with it,
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. So the second time you left the band,
yeah.
I remember I was bummed out because I the short time I had known you, I felt like you and I were extremely close because you were the one that really was one of my biggest proponents for me being in the band. I mean, I thought that you had an influence over Gary and Jack. I mean, I wasn't in the room when you guys decided, and I don't know what the deciding factors were, but here you were looking at a 37-year-old guy who had never done it before, and you were giving him a fucking chance.
I think you deserve the chance. There wasn't a lot of people knocking down the door to be our singer. I mean, we did a gig with Matt Harvey from Exhumed, and we offered him the job, and he saw the state of our band at that time. This was a couple years before we met you, and like we offered him the job, and I think out of pure survival instinct, he said, "I can't do this," because he would have been a good replacement. He's kind of Bailoff-like, kind of short and stocky, and like, he had all the Bailoff-isms on stage or whatever. He kind of like stalked the stage like an angry tiger, and we liked him a lot. So, and then we toured with Steve Esquivel when Zet flaked on a tour that we did. Anyway, but when you showed up, you were very enthusiastic about trying out, and you were like, "Hey, give me a try." And like, I remember the first day you kind of sucked, and then the next day you came back and we played Shroud of Urine, and you screamed and you fucking killed it. And after you sang that song, I was like, I was like, he killed that song, so I mean, you earned the spot. It wasn't like we tapped this guy,
Oh, no, I know that.
and you wanted it. You were hungry for it, and you wanted to try it, and I got no regrets.
Yeah. No, and I know that. So we did a 4-song demo, and then you were gone, and they brought in Paul, and me and Paul didn't have me and Paul weren't that friendly with. It wasn't like we weren't friendly with each other. It just we didn't click, and I was bummed out that you weren't there, and then
me too.
Rick not showing up, and it just kind of the thing spiraled, but we just kept moving forward. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, you know, and then
I got to credit that time to like the power of the, you know, the drive of Gary Holt and the hunger that you had coming in. You know what I mean? That's what kept the wheels turning. You know, and I was sorry I wasn't there either. I listened to Shovelheaded Kill Machine's an incredible record. Paul's playing is amazing on it, you know, and I could tell by listening to it that he emulated a little bit of the stuff that he heard during the pre-production, because he was called upon quick to like come in and play those parts.
Yeah.
Because I was still slated to come and try to record the songs with the band. I think we had like 7 or 8 songs that were kind of in the stage of complete. And, you know, Paul played great on that record.
Yeah. I remember talking to him about it, and he was like, he's like, yeah, man. I mean, Tom, he goes, I can't rip off Tom. He goes, I'd like to, I just can't. He's too, I think he said the word, I think he's just too weird. It's the way he, not weird, but the way he does things. And you know,
it's a different school. Like Paul's more of a rudimentary trained drummer. Like he has like proper drumming skills, and I have
flying on the pants.
I have what I saw Keith Moon into trying to emulate that and whatever, and Clive Burr and all that stuff. But it's a different school and probably maybe different influences early on, us learning how to play drums. But he's an incredible drummer, and like,
yeah,
I can't play Death Amphetamine like he tracked it.
Yeah,
I can play it the way I did it in pre-production and add a few Bostaff-isms in there.
Yeah.
And even when we play it live now, the band looks at me like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Because that's how it was recorded." And you know, I've just been trying to, you know.
You know what's funny is I struggled with it with him, but I didn't struggle with it with you because I first recorded it with you.
Yeah.
So I when you came back into the band, which I was so happy for that to happen.
Me too.
I no longer struggled with songs that I was having problems with for some reason. And I'm not blaming Paul. I'm just saying that it was just different, man. There was something about your playing that made me comfortable, that just, I knew there were certain things that you need for the 1 or the 2, wherever you're coming in.
Yeah.
And you were always there. And there were some times when, I'm not saying Paul wasn't, I'm just saying maybe it wasn't, he wrote it differently, so it was different for him. But that I could always rely on you being spot on. And
I don't think he had a lot of time to prepare for that record, for one thing.
And then we just went right on the road, right after.
He listened to the pre-production, and like, you know, I think bam, like, you know, probably 2 weeks later, he was like asked to track that stuff, and I thought he did an amazing job. You know, I was gonna say something, but I forgot. My thought left me. Anyways, yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say. That song is, to me, by far Gary Holt's best lyrics, because it's personal.
Yeah.
And it's about what we were all going through.
Yeah.
And it's about Rick, you know, it's about Gary's experience, and like visually what he was experiencing like during the drugged out years, you know.
It also
it's by far his most personal statement lyrically in a song.
Yeah, and the music was chaotic, like meth is. It was chaotic. Everything's a fucking mess. There's fives in there and weird timing shit, and it's just, yeah, man. It was definitely a song that was.
And then in the middle it crashes.
Yeah.
That's when you hit the wall. You've been up for 2 days and you're like, fuck, I gotta sleep. I can't even watch porn now. Porn's not even fun to watch now. I gotta sleep.
Yeah, Rick looks like I jerked off with 40 grits. Fucking raw.
I heard Andy Steve say, "A sparrow's tear."
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah.
after so through all the years, through all the ups and downs, and it's been an amazing roller coaster ride,
Totally.
And so and then it comes to you get sick. You uh I get choked up talking about it.
Oh, it's all right, dude.
But I remember when you called me, how awful it hit me, because we're like brothers, dude. You know what I mean? We lived together for 10 years on a bus, so it's kind of, it hit me hard.
That's 1/9 of your life if you live to be 90.
Yeah,
like, that's a big chunk.
I couldn't imagine what it was like for you, but I don't want to drag you through it unless you want to talk about it. But
I got no problems talking about it. If it is what it is, and it's some shit that some of us are just gonna have to go through, and that fortunately, the journey for me has been it's been hard, but I've also had some incredible help from incredible people and science and technology and just the force of nature and will and a lot of luck,
yeah,
that a lot of people don't get. So I've been lucky. I don't want to say I'm cancer free, because I don't know that if I am or not, but they can't find it in me right now, so that's good.
Can you talk about how it started and like what led to actually going
It started as basically I had lost my appetite for food, and I like to eat, and I think it was we just got off tour in March, April, May, right around May, a couple months after we got home in 2020. COVID was raging. Me and my wife Ursula, we were living up in Lake Elsinore at our house. And we were just doing the mountain thing because the cities were all shut down. There was nothing going on. But every time I hung out with her dad, he would always be like, "Man, you're losing weight. You're losing weight." And I didn't even have a scale in the house. I was like, well, maybe I am losing weight, a little bit of weight. And anyways, I went to the doctor, and I was like, my appetite's gone. I feel this and that, and I could see that my weight had gone down a little bit, but yeah, I lost my appetite, and that had happened before, like with anxiety, because that happens to you with anxiety too. But this just felt different, and I felt like something was wrong inside there, and he prescribed me these, like there's like doctor strength, like Prilosec and Pepsids and all that shit, and they'll prescribe that stuff to you for years, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reason I went public with what I was going through, because I wanted other people to like get checked out if they're having like gut issues or whatever, because those drugs, like the Pepsids and the Prilosec, like they'll get you by for a long time.
Yeah.
Like for years, and you could have some kind of underlying problem that needs to be addressed. So anyways, by that time, Gary, like May, June, Gary had been coming up. We were going to write music, and he fell in love with the mountains. And he was like, I got a 3-car garage up there with a little studio attached to it. And he's like, dude, COVID shut down the cities. He's like, we were really inspired, like musically, even though I was feeling sick inside, like,
right.
So we were writing good shit, and like it was just him and me jamming in a room, and he was like, let's do the album here. I'm like, all right. So I this is my wife's house too. She was on board with it, and we used my man cave. But during the recording, I was still feeling like, I felt like I was losing weight still, and I wasn't really weak because I was in like playing shape. But finally I went to my doctor. I'm like, dude, this is bullshit. Come on. I'm like, you got to do some kind of test. They did CT scans and blood scans and like all this blood work and stuff, and they didn't find anything, fortunately. So he's like, I'm going to send you to a specialist. So then they did the scope test where they put a scope down inside you.
Yeah.
And then they found it. And that was February 9th. I got that test of 2020. or this year actually, 2021. And he's like, yeah, we found what 2 days later after they biopsied it, it's called a squamous cell carcinoma, which is like an esophageal type of cancer that has showed up in my upper stomach, like the very upper portion of my stomach.
Yeah.
And so that day, February 11th, I was like, well, time to make some changes. Like I quit smoking. I mean, I wasn't smoking a lot of cigarettes then, but I didn't even think I would have the will to stop, to be honest. But that day I was like, all right, I'm going to try. No pressure. I wasn't like, I already knew I had cancer. So I'm like, I just felt like I've got to try to quit smoking because these fucking badass doctors are going to try to save my ass. Yeah. So I would feel like a fucking asshole. Plus, I heard stories about people like at the chemo clinic with their IVs and they're outside fucking chain smoking with an IV pole. Like, who does that? Anyway, I didn't want to be that guy. So I quit smoking and it worked. I was like, no pressure. I'm going to try this today. If it works out today, I'll try again tomorrow. If I slip, I'll try the day after. And anyway, I stopped. And then I met, through the power of heavy metal, I met and Gary Holt. Gary Holt was Gary was on the Slayer tour, and he was on his Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and he's like, my elbows hurt, my this hurts, my that hurts. You know how guitar players are. Yeah. Bless his heart. But he was playing hard every night.
Yeah, so. Look at my fingernail, it's so bad.
But you know, and more power to him, because like I'm sure it does hurt, like going when you're getting older and stuff all the time. But he through that, there was a doctor out there listening, and his name's Scott, and we become since really, really good friends. But Scott is a orthopedic surgeon, hand surgeon. So he reached out to Gary and said, hey man, it's like, quit going in and getting these fucking cortisone shots and these whatever shots. He's like, you don't need a shot. You need to figure out what's going on. He's like, come in and see me at UCSF. And Scott's also a fan. So he was following Gary on Instagram.
Yeah.
So they exchanged personal info, and it's funny, you know, I was talking to Gary after I got diagnosed, and I was like, they offer this second opinion program at UCSF in San Francisco. And I'm like, I'm going to take all my medical data from up north and bring it in there and just pay out of pocket and see if I'm on the right path for treatment and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, I know a guy. He's like, he's a hand surgeon, but I think that maybe he could point you in the right direction at least, you know. This was on Valentine's Day of this year. And an hour later, I was on the phone with this dude talking about stomach tumors. And I'm just like, holy shit. And, you know, this is where I get choked up, because like, if you're in trouble, somewhere out there is an angel walking around for you, you know. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing, but they get a call and like they answer the call. So always answer the call. But anyway, I ended up getting treatment there, and you know, they did surgery and stuff like that in July on me. I got some chemo early on, and yeah, they pulled out my stomach, and now I just have like it's called a full gastrectomy.
Yeah,
I can even show you the scar.
Yeah, let's see it. Ooh,
yeah, look at that. Anyway, it's healing up good. You think Tyrell could do something with that?
Like, fuck yeah, man. We'll do like we could do like a guy like coming out of it. Yeah. Like
what was that movie? Total Recall.
Yeah, exactly.
Quado or whatever.
Quado, yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's been a crazy journey, dude. And you know, through that, they also found mesothelioma on my abdomen, and I got surgery for that too. And that's kind of what they're keeping an eye on now. And I'm getting immunotherapy. Like chemo is like a nuclear bomb. They put it in you, and it goes in there and kills everything.
Yeah.
Healthy cells, you know, cancerous cells, healthy cells, it all just gets obliterated. And it's hard. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your, you know, everything. But
Do you smoke weed to go with the pain and the recovery from chemo? Have you tried
I
that?
haven't been smoking anything, dude. Like since February 11th of 2020, I quit smoking cigarettes. I had one cigarette the day before my surgery because I was a basket case. I even tried to put it off. I'm like, hey, I called him. I was like, I'm not emotionally prepared for this.
Yeah.
Can't you save like 30% of the stomach? And they're like, no, we want to be sure. It's a pretty aggressive tumor. Let's go in and get it. Anyway, they talked me into it, but the day before I smoked a cigarette. I had one pack left from February.
We talked on the phone. We were talking about it. Like
Yeah. And
talking,
like there was one cigarette inside it that wasn't broken. So like I smoked it and then I crumpled up the pack and threw it in the garbage. And then 2 hours later, I went to the garbage and like fixed one. I fixed one with a zigzag and like smoked that one too. And
told me that story. I was like, I'm a smoker. I totally get it. I was a smoker.
I don't have any regrets about that cigarette because it hit the spot that day.
Yeah.
Since then, I think when you were out here visiting during Ursula's birthday, when we were smoking cigars on the roof, I smoked a cigar, and
but you don't
took a few puffs of weed. But I'll do some edibles now, and
that's good.
You
know, the cigar you don't inhale, so it's a little different.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. By the way, I'm not going to get into it. There'll be something I do when you come to town.
Don't get into it. You don't need to. You're good. But yeah, man.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at in the journey right now. I'm getting immunotherapy. It's like I said, chemo is like a nuclear bomb that kills everything, and immunotherapy is more like it trains your immune system to go in and kill any like rogue activity.
Yeah.
Like on a cellular level, like it's a lot like some of the HIV medicines they have nowadays, and it's a lot like the COVID vaccine. Like it tells your immune system to go out and kill this. Like it's identify this, and if it's rogue and it's in your body, it trains your immune system to go kill it. So, I'm down with the science, bro. Like it's taken me this far, and I get to live. I've met some incredible people and made a really good friend in Scott. Like we hang out now. We go to baseball games and we go have coffee together, and he's just a really good dude, and came out of nowhere. So we become really good friends, and I've become friends with a lot of people. And I think I'm not qualified now, but after I'm thinking a couple more months, they deem me qualified to talk to other people about this disease, and I'm gonna do it because
man,
I want people to know about it, and I want people to like get checked. Just going public with it. I don't do social media, but what I read on the Exodus was like, hey, I'm having gut problems too, and I'm gonna go get checked out now, and I hope people get the answers they're looking for. But
I do. I planned on doing the same thing about sobriety because I got asked recently, like, how did I live on a tour bus for 10 years with a bunch of drunken maniacs? How did I not drink? And I'm like, I don't know, man. So I thought about like diving into that because it's something personal, and I think it's a good message that you're putting out there. Some people want to be very private about it, but also, I mean, I know that you're not a hippie, but you're a very kind person, and you're all about humanity. And that was one of the things I loved about you the most. I love it too. You're always just a very sweet, kind person. And
thanks, bro. You too. My wife calls you Baby Dukes. you put off this like this tough, angry tiger persona, but she's like, he's a big teddy bear. I think I'll call him Baby Dukes. I think you're in her phone as Baby Dukes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Tom, I'm really glad that you met Scott and you met the right people, and all those things come into play. I mean, there are people out there who are maybe going to listen to this and go get checked out and go So
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not saying like those drugs that they give you for your gut are bad. They get you by, like but if you're having like what you think is a gut problem, tell them you want to get a scope,
Yeah.
Tell them you want to get scoped, because like some of those scans and some of those tests, they won't pick up what's going on inside there. So like, I mean, since I'm on this journey, dude, they are fucking like scanning me constantly, because they want to see how I'm reacting to like what they're doing too. So it's all part of the science and like the evolution of the science. So if they can help me live, and I love my life, if they can help me live, and I can help them, you know, develop the science to help the next batch of people who, you know, are going to get this shit. That's a win-win. So,
and that's what I mean. And that's what I mean. You've always been that person in my life that I know that. And that's one of the reasons I love you so much, you know?
Oh, love you too, man.
Yeah, it was I really wanted to come to San Francisco and hang out and have dinner. And I had such an awesome time. And we had some good laughs, and, you know, a little bit. We laughed and we told stories. And yeah,
it was
man.
Killer.
It was killer. I'm looking forward to coming back and doing it again.
I want to take a road trip to the desert out by your area.
Hey, come out, man. Fucking out. You always got a place here. You know that.
My wife loves the desert. Like she did a Palm Springs trip not too long ago with some friends, and she's like, Palm Springs is rad. I was like, I was just in Phoenix because we were shooting that video like a month and a half ago. Yeah. And I never really hung out in Phoenix like on a like just hanging out level.
Yeah.
But like the restaurants are awesome. The weather was perfect. Like it was not the crazy hot months. And
yeah,
I think I can get down with like a good trip to the desert, like for a couple weeks. You know?
I love it here, man. You can, you know, I got a spare bedroom. You're welcome anytime you want, man. I got a whole car.
Awesome.
You can drive my car, and you know, fuck, man. Ride my motorcycle. I don't give a fuck. Just come hang out. Yeah. You know? So I'm gonna switch gears. Let's talk about your favorite songs that shaped you as a person, and that you constantly, like, I have a list of songs that I go back to that bring back memories, or they bring back comfort, and they bring, you know, it's like, these are the songs I'm going to listen to the rest of my life. I know that. And you know, so what are some of yours?
Well, I mean, as a child of the 70s, like I grew up listening to a lot of radio. I grew up listening to, and music was, to me, the 70s was amazing. And like anything by Motown, Temptations, Stevie Wonder, You Haven't Done Nothing, like those songs, Temptations, all that stuff. Like I loved it. Aretha Franklin, basically whatever was in the house. Like my mom had Aretha Franklin live in Paris. Like I played that thing back to back a million times. And early Joe Cocker, like his version of With a Little Help from My Friends. Those early songs were like big, and great drumming too, like in those days.
Right.
And then when I moved on, when I started knowing that I wanted to be a musician, like I started getting into harder rock, like Aerosmith. And I remember my brother bringing home Pink Floyd Animals, and like that kind of like, yeah, totally. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, when I first heard that blew my mind. And
album's ever written. Yeah.
Fucking you know, that stuff. And then later on, I think early Scorpions, like when I met Kirk exposed me to UFO and the Scorpions. And my friend Merle bought Iron Maiden just because of the cover.
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks later, like Exodus was playing Backyard Parties, playing Running Free. And they're like, that's a great song. I'm like, yeah, I wish I could say we wrote that, but no, we didn't write that. But you know, Hallowed Be Thy Name is like one of them songs that's like, damn, that's like a journey all in one song. Like it's like one of those perfectly written songs from bookend to bookend. Clive Burr like does that.
Were you you Paul Di'Anno over Bruce, or did you like them both equally?
I like them both equally, and I seen them. I never saw them with Paul Di'Anno. I loved Killers, and I loved the first record, and I loved Number of the Beast. Like, I mean, they couldn't have picked a better guy to replace him. I think I was actually more upset about the dismissal of Clyde Burr than I was Paul Di'Anno's firing.
Yeah,
because and that was a big thing. Like when Bruce joined the band, like, but nobody gave two shits when they dumped Clyde Burr for Nico McBrain, who's also an amazing drummer.
yeah.
He's more colorful and like, does a lot more, flashy drum rolls and stuff like that. But Clive was a driver, dude. And
Yeah.
and he had great drum tone, and he would do like Wrathchild. He does that with one hand on the hi-hat, dude.
Really?
Like I always thought it was
Yeah.
but it's one hand through the entire song. That's like fucking 16th notes from hell. And like I still watch videos on YouTube of him playing that live, and I was like, damn.
Terry Bozzio complimented your 16th notes.
Yeah. He said he called me a worker. I'll take that from Terry Bozzio.
Yeah. I remember you told me the story, and you're like, "What are those?"
Yeah. Nice guy. He hung out with us for a couple of days in England in 1989, I think it was.
Wow.
He went to a couple shows, and really, really nice guy. Our manager knew him at the time, and he liked metal.
Yeah. So Motown, classic, and then slowly the new wave of British heavy metal, kind of
new wave of British heavy metal,
and then
Scorps, and then Gary's brother would always listen to college radio out here. And college radio never gets enough credit, I don't think, mentioned by anybody. Metallica mentions them sometimes, but
they play
college radio played a big part in shaping thrash music, or exposing people to thrash music.
Yeah.
Because
in New York, we had WSOU and WCWP, and they would play songs. You're like, who the fuck is this? And you didn't have Shazam back then. You just had to like wait for the DJ to say the name of the band. Then you could go to the record store and try to find the record, which, I mean, that's the same way that it all was for us in New York, too.
We had Cal X and KUSF out here. So and they would, from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m, they would play like thrash and new wave of British heavy metal at first before it became mainstream. And then that was our exposure to it. But and then Cal-X Berkeley station, they played Bob Marley and the Clash and like Cro-Mags and fucking Exploited, Discharge.
Yeah.
And Gary's brother exposed us to that music. So like, I think music, when you and me grew up at a time when like music was amazing. Like the stuff people were creating was just like, damn,
Yeah. And it was, when I listened to Queen, like News of the World, right? That's one of my favorite records, right? There was no Pro Tools. You had to nail it. There was no auto-tune. You had to get it. And you had to get it that take. It's like recording a live record. You know what I mean? Like even now, the only thing about a live at Wacken record that was real was me and you, because everyone else fucking did their shit, but you can't do that with a singer and the fucking drummer like that. But back then you couldn't do, and everything had to be legit. There was no fixing it. Well, you could, but
I read Halford's book, and Unleashed in the East, he went in and re-recorded his vocals for that.
Yeah. And it was kind of like Kiss, where they had the audio of the crowd and they played it and pulled it up and down. But so I mean, even Rush, I just say, well, that's a great live record, Geddy. And Geddy went, live? You know what I mean? He kind of giggled. He was like, yeah, it wasn't live. We
the cheering is live.
Yeah. But even like, when you back then, I mean, you could edit and you could fix stuff, but there was no auto-tune. There was no.
And I listen to a lot of big band era stuff now too, and like, dude, those guys were on their game, like playing the horn sections and the harmonies. Like, have you ever heard of Patty Page?
No.
Patty Page was one of the first women singers, amazing singer. She sang "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?"
Okay, I know
the
the song.
one with the waggedy tail. But
Yeah.
that song and a bunch of her other songs have like three or four part harmonies, and she did them all.
Wow.
And that was like some of the first overdubbing harmonies ever laid down. She was very, very groundbreaking woman in recording, and also, you know, the Andrews sisters and some of the big band era stuff is just, it's, if you sit down and listen to the musicianship, it blows my mind. And
I remember watching like Tom and Jerry cartoons when they didn't, you know, the older ones that were really good. And I remember seeing a documentary on how they did it. And basically the guy would write the music and there'd be 50 people in a room and they had to fucking play it. And that was it.
yeah.
Like you didn't, yeah, oh, we got to go back and fix that little drum part there. Nah, didn't happen. That's not the way they, now we got to start all over, fuckface.
Punch in. What are you talking about?
I'm going to punch you. I've been playing this for 2 weeks. I want to be done with it. Yeah. So anyway, well, you know, you and I were on the same page with music. We were many late night in the back lounge listening to Pink Floyd and old Black Sabbath. And, you know, you're one of my closest friends in the world. And,
thanks, bro. You too.
You know, and, I love you very much. I thank you for doing this. And,
my pleasure. Anytime.
I think you know the Exodus fans and you know fans out there, metalheads, are going to enjoy this conversation. And I hope, you know, look, man, if we have this conversation and we help one person go to the doctor, then that's enough, you know. So
yeah, we're all getting older.
Yeah, man, it's gonna start.
You know what else is funny, dude? Like, and Rick introduced me to this woman from Florida, and she's a palliative care cancer doctor, and it's amazing. And she was at our show recently at the Fox Theater in Oakland. It's amazing how these metalheads all got their shit together. You know,
yeah,
they're becoming doctors and shit, and
yeah,
not saying that, you know, metalheads are stupid or anything, but it's amazing, like, to see the scene and how many people like that kind of music. There's a amazing hand surgeon at UCSF that loves our band.
Yeah,
you know, from a totally different walk of life.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I guess we're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all the same.
Well, we're human beings trying to get through this fucking place on, you know, on the planet, and try not to be a dick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I don't find that that you ever even had to work that hard at. Me and you, I think we lived for 10 years on a bus. I don't ever remember having an argument with you. Never.
No, I don't either.
No, never had one. Had one with Gary, had one with Lee, had one with Jack one time, but it was about politics, so that doesn't really count. But you and
it doesn't. And when you know, when I have those arguments with those guys, it's not really arguing; it's communicating. Which
yeah, this is where I stand, and I know where you stand, and we're good. Yeah,
that's a healthy thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
For too many years, it's like, what's that Pink Floyd said? It got so bad we almost said something.
Our band was so dysfunctional, we almost said something. Yeah.
Dude, that is a hell of a statement.
Fucking A, it is.
And you remembered that, and I remember us talking about that. It's like,
yeah.
Maybe we should say something. Yeah, maybe 18 shots of Jaeger isn't so good before.
Yeah, and then we had this big fight on the bus. Like,
I played great.
Fuck, man.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I love you very much, brother.
I love you too, bro.
Thank you for doing this, man. And I'm gonna make a list of all your favorite, like a bunch of your. I'm gonna make Tom's list, and I'm gonna pick a bunch of songs.
Go for it.
But if you want any particular songs, text them to me, and I'll make the list. So when this podcast ends, there's gonna be a link to a Spotify. It'll be Tom's list on my page, and then
sounds good.
Yeah, man. And
all right, brother.
Give Ursula a hug, man. Tell her Merry Christmas, man. I love you very much, brother.
Love you too, man.
I'll talk to you soon.